Hello, I'm recording this video to give a before and after on a new client of ours, Gloucester Garden Design, to show how we've changed their website and try and explain why we did it and the things we've focused on and so on. So they're obviously, as the name would suggest, based in Gloucester. And here's a new site. The old site design was pretty good. Um, we've not changed a lot because the website was only about a year old, but there were some elements that weren't quite right for this industry. Knowing how the garden design landscaping industry works means we've got a good insight into what works well and what doesn't work. And therefore, when we build a website, we can sort of use not a template, but we can use the experience we've built up with lots of other clients in terms of getting everything working as well as it should do. So the old site design, first glance and so on, I think it's pretty good. It's not as though you look at it and think it's horrible. It's good. And in particular, the photos of the work they've got are very good. They've done some excellent projects and they've got some really good photos of them. There are a few bits and pieces which maybe are peculiar to this industry that understanding them helps to make the website look and work a lot better, both in terms of the experience of people looking at it and the number of inquiries it generates. One of the most simple sort of rules we always have is with photos to avoid putting any kind of a tint over them. So this here is obviously a very nice garden, but it's got a dark tint over it just so that this white text will stand out, and you miss the color in the garden. So, looking at what we've used here, we've used a tint over the text here so that the text will stand out, but we've kept the rest untinted so you can see the color. You can see the green, the blue sky, and everything else. Um, Thinking about it from a potential customer's point of view, that they're trying to see what you do, your services you're offering, and who you are, what you've done in the past, all that kind of information. And therefore, the main menu at the top here is key, giving them easy access to that information, and understanding that a lot of the time people will visit the website several times, possibly over a year, 2 years before making contact. So they need to be able to find all the bits of information they're interested in. Um, Services is key, showing exactly what you do, what you offer. Past projects is important. About the company is obviously very important. uh, the setup on this one was a bit confusing, and we've simplified it somewhat, and I'll show you how in a moment. So we've got, under services, we've got the key things: landscaping design. um, we've also got 4K immersive designs, which I think was a slight misunderstanding as to what is done in this industry. Um, Somewhere else, it's described as 4D immersive designs. Obviously, it's about 3D garden design. That's what the page is all about, but it's slightly, sort of misunderstood when it was put together. And then under construction are all the, I suppose, elements of the garden. And I think it's very good to have the key things that people search for a lot as individual pages. Um, Probably wouldn't quite go down to the level here because you end up with so much and so little on each. But key things like outdoor kitchens, pergolas, swimming pools, if you're doing quite a few of them, driveways and so on. Good to have pages of for all of those, because then you can focus them on the sort of the SEO element of it, i.e., people searching for, in this case, garden design in Gloucester, outdoor kitchen in Gloucester, things like that. Um, projects Projects pages is very, very important, because no good inquiry is going to call you without having a look at what you've done in the past. Here's where I mentioned before, slight misunderstanding in how this all works. It's obviously a 3D garden design run, a 4D garden design. I suppose 4D involves, I don't know, the heat from the sun, water splashing, and everything else. Um, Projects are important, and this company has some excellent projects. They've done some fantastic work, and they've got some really good photos to back them up. And I think that's important. Is trying to have a something for everybody. A good variety of photos to show people what you've done, and then they can see things similar to what they want. So as far as this side is concerned, the projects looks good. As mentioned, I think there's a bit too much going on here between our services and construction. It needs to be simpler. Um, about page there about the company. One thing you do have to be a bit careful of is you're you're building a website for a person, and a lot of web designers have a habit of going a bit over the top on the SEO side, so over optimizing for SEO. Um, this is an industry where the majority of the work for, I'd say 95% of our clients is within 10, 15, 20-mile radius of where they're based. So SEO is important, but it's local SEO, it's local focus. So you're not trying to target, so landscape gardeners is a big high volume search term, 20,000, 30,000 searches a month, depending on the time of the year. So yes, it's an important one to target. However, it's only relevant for people searching it in the local area. So it's important not to go over the top. So, here is a good example: Gloucester Garden Design Company, landscape design, garden construction, and maintenance. This is about them. It's, there's a load of keywords for search ranking purposes stuffed in there, and it it loses the kind of the key selling messages, i.e., this company here, based in Gloucestershire, 18 years creating wonderful gardens. That's what it should be talking about on the about page, is what's great about the company, persuading someone to make contact. There's a blog there, and I'll show you in a moment how we've changed it, because we've tried to keep the similar style, but just improve it and make it work better than it would before. Blogs are great because they are an opportunity to produce large amounts of well-written content, which will help with search ranking in the local area, bring people into the website, lead them then on to the other pages like the services, about the company, past projects, and everything else. There's a frequently asked questions on this site as well, which I think is a very good thing to do to answer the questions that come up a lot, so people, before they pick up the phone and call you, can understand what it is you do, and the sort of the things that they are not really sure about. Mainly because very few people will do a garden design landscaping project every few years. It's for most people it's a one-off thing. It's done once and that's it, and it all being well, it's never done again. Therefore, there are questions they have, such as, what does it cost, how long does it take, what is 3D design, what, how do you produce a design, all those kinds of things. And if you can answer them with some frequently asked questions, it makes them feel more confident when they contact you, and as though you are speaking the same language as them, so they don't feel as intimidated, because there is always that fear that when you call a company you've never had any communication with before, for a thing that may be a large amount of money, that a pushy salesperson is going to turn up at the door and you're never going to be able to get rid of them, and so on. So trying to educate, inform before they contact you really does help. So let me try and show you how we've changed and adapted this. Now, I mentioned before about the avoiding any kind of tints over images because you want to show the color. One of the other aspects to this company, is they are the Gloucester Garden Design Company. Now, their main markets are Gloucester and Cheltenham, which are very close together. Both are in Gloucestershire. So one thing we've tried to do in the text we've written is move the focus over to Gloucestershire rather than Gloucester, just so that we appeal to the Cheltenham people as much as we do to the Gloucester ones. We don't want them to sort of think, well, this company only works in Gloucester and we're in Cheltenham, and therefore we won't bother calling them. So you'll notice here, Gloucestershire's garden design landscaping experts. Throughout the text, we're mentioning Gloucestershire, Gloucestershire all the way down. So even though they're the Gloucester Garden Design Company, we've just widened it in the wording we're using to make sure we're appealing to as wide a potential market of customers as possible. So This website's not been live all that long. We'll be adding more and more content to it, videos and everything else. But it's a starting point that we can build on in terms of the search ranking, the inquiries, and everything else. Services wise, we've consolidated down to the key ones. So on the old site, there were one or two things that were duplicated. Garden design seemed to feature in a couple of areas, and there were things that were very low demand. So we've focused it much more precisely on the things that people are asking for and are interested in, and we've added quite a lot of extra text to those pages to help them appeal to the audience and appeal to search engines. The layout of the page, we've tried to, let me just have a quick look at this old one again. We've tried to keep this nice colourful look in terms of the projects, but at the same time make it a bit more informative. So here are the key things that they do. Here's a link to the pages there. And one of the things with website designing and building is trying to make sure all the pages link together. So you're giving people an easy route through the website, but also search engines an easy route so that they know that if this page garden design is linked from multiple places, it's obviously very important and it's a key thing to what this company does. Text and so on. We've rewritten the text to make it work better, but trying to keep a similar style, because when a website's not very old and a lot of work has gone into designing it, it seems foolish just to throw it all out and start all over again. There's some excellent elements in the design of their old website which we've tried to follow through with the new one. Video about the company there. And we've also tried where we can, they've got a nice little logo here that we've sort of used as a bullet point, just to add a bit of variety rather than the boring old bullet points, to add something a little bit different into what we're doing. Here's some links to their projects, and a key thing always is testimonials, is what other people think of them. So we've got testimonials on all pages of the website. This is a feed from Google reviews, and we've also got this nice little box down the bottom here, which again is on all pages. Someone can click on it and they can see what others have said about them. So this company, they've got average of 4.8, 53 reviews. It looks pretty good, and people can then see what others think of them. So there's a fairly effective structure to the homepage, giving an overview of everything within the site, linking to the services, linking to the projects, information on the company, reviews, and so on. So there's a nice overview. If somebody looked at one page only and it was a homepage, it would tell them all they needed to about the company. Then if they come in further to the website, so garden design, going into more detail here about what is garden design, what do we mean by 3D garden design, showing some examples of past projects that they've worked on. This page is focused on search ranking as well. We've got the term garden design mentioned a number of times in there to be sure that Google picks up on it and realizes that's what this page is about. And where are we? Yeah, our little bullet points again there, using their logo just to kind of, tie everything in together nicely. Under projects, one of the little tricks we always find with projects is to tie them into the location. So we've got one or two here, mention the locations, but what we really want to do with all websites is have a location with every single one, because everyone is working in a local area, and therefore they'll be looking at this and they'll know someone in Tewkesbury, so they're more likely to look at the Tewkesbury project, or they themselves are in wherever we got here, Dursley, and therefore they're likely to look at that one. So we're trying to give people reasons to click on projects. The type of garden is one of them, because they'll see something similar to what they've got. The location is another one, because it just, when it's close to home, it's what people tend to be interested in. The blog, as I mentioned, we've copied that over. It was a good existing blog in terms of lots of content. Google had already indexed it, so we want to take that straight across to a new website. And yes, we want to improve it. Let's have a quick look at how that has changed. So, this old one here, it, not the most exciting look. We've improved it in terms of a bit more color. We've got links to other blogs down here. The font and so on is a bit more attractive in appearance, so people are going to enjoy it, reading it a bit more. The about page is giving an overview to the company. Next step for this website is to have team photos, meet the team, information on who's behind the company and so on, because people love that. They're thinking about using a company. They like to see who will actually be turning up every day and doing the work. So that's a key page. And lastly, the contact page. The kind of key rule, if you like, with the contact page is to keep it simple. No fluff or anything else there. Here's how you contact us. Here's the phone number. Here's the email address, contact form, and here's our physical address if you want to know where we're based. Nice and simple and straightforward. So it's a good website. It's starting to produce some results, and it will just get better and better as we add more to it, as we add more videos, projects, information, and so on about the company. It will grow, and the results will just keep on getting better and better on the back of that. So I hope that gives you a bit of an overview of how we build a new website from what certainly wasn't horrible in the past. It was a good website. Particularly the photos were good, which is always a key thing. But we've tried to take it up to that next level, just to make it a bit more interesting, engaging, and a bit more likely to persuade someone to make an inquiry. So I hope that gives you a good understanding of how we approach this when we build a new website.